Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio. So, we'll start off by wandering on over to the the coal, moving around area. And we'll clear away those last little bits because finally we have finished there. We've got a lovely stock of coal that will last us for all eternity, just sitting around there. Then we wander on over to the steel production and clean up a bit of mess. Some copper that got into the system last episode, if you remember the accident with the belts. And then it's over to try and optimize and so on systems, because I've spotted a weird problem going on with the copper supply where there's a bunch coming in on the left that's flowing really fast, and on the right it's just sort of not, and I'm a bit confused by that. So I try evening out the belts and working out some kinks that were in it that didn't need to be there, and hopefully that'll help fix whatever problem that was. And then we can wander on and get on with other things, just having a look around, making sure that there's nothing horrifically wrong anywhere, no empty belts when they should be full. So it's we're trying to sort of find something to do today. Really, I'm just wandering around thinking what needs working on right now. What can we go around to the iron outpost and everything's running fine there. So come back and just sort of thinking what can I do with today's episode. We'll get a bit of science done there, and then I think, well, there's a thing. So I stick 4 alien artifacts into the assembler there, so we can get some more productivity modules, which we can put in labs, because of course one thing that we can always do is increase our science rate, and of course that will get the game completed quicker, and we'll get to the end game. Of course it won't take me that long at this point, I think, to research the missile defense and get that all sorted, but I sort of don't want to do it quite yet. I want to get all of the science done if I can. Anyway, we get the first 2 productivity modules done in there, so we can stick those in, get the inserters hooked up, and immediately we have another science lab added on, so we're now on 13, I think, something along those lines. And I decided to increase the buffers on these new science chests, so they were at a capacity of 200. I've just turned it up to 400, because I thought, why not? Might as well have them fill up, especially as I'm increasing the science capacity right now, so soon enough the stockpiles may start getting drained by the increased science stuff. So anyway, you can see it's all going fine there. It's coming out of the assemblers, going into the chest and everything. And then the other 2 productivity modules get done, so I can run over, stick those into the next lab, and then get that hooked up too. So now we have 14 science labs. Of course, we had 10 a few minutes before the end of last episode, something along those lines. So that's nearly a 50% increase there, and you know that's pretty big actually. So we'll get all our science done in less episodes, really. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is try and sort out the advanced circuits that are used for the blue science packs, because that's something that's been a problem for a very long time. It's been the limiting factor for the production of blue science packs. So, of course, there's certain things that you need to make them, and one of those things is plastic, which of course is only used in the production of circuits, and so it's been sort of embedded in the production line, and it was sort of difficult to extract, but I managed to find a way to pull it out by shifting some other belts around and having some underground belts put in around the place, and that means that we now have it extracted from the system. So what I start doing here is I grab myself some assemblers and just plunk those down around here, and it looks sort of arbitrary, but I have a plan to it. I'm sort of doing the whole thing at once, and you can see I start getting these inserters set up. I shift one of them because I've changed my mind a bit about the setup, and you can see getting all this hooked up, and what this is just a sort of independent production of advanced circuits beyond the other 2 that I already have, one being for blue science packs and one being for modules. So I get a substation in the middle of it, get it all powered up, get it all going, and then you can see we get some advanced circuits coming through and going onto the belt and supplementing that, and hopefully that will be enough to sort out the supply, because you can see that it has run down there on the blue science packs production line. We get a bit more science done there. We're getting close now. We're nearly down to just the missile stuff and the follower robot count, which is like the largest science chain at the end of the game. Now I started getting rid of some labs here because they were not being supplied because all the red science packs were going into the stockpile, or whatever you call it, the buffer, and then being sent on after those 2 labs. So I decided to move those up to the end just to clear things up there. Gives us a bit more space if we want to put something there, and it's also it's a bit less faff. It's a lot more simple to just sort that out. So anyway, I run on down to the oil area because I'm a bit worried about things there, and you can see the plastic is it's not flowing quite as fast as I like it to be. Only thing is that chemical plant and those inserters are going as fast as they possibly can, so I'll need to build another one if I want to sort something out there. But we have another problem as well, which also requires a chemical plant, and that is that we are running out of petroleum gas and light oil, while the heavy oil supply is increasing. So I have to hook up a new chemical plant to turn heavy oil into light oil and try and keep things balanced there, and hopefully that will solve our problems there, because the supplies of the lighter 2 products are getting a bit low, and it's a bit worrying really. I'm not really sure what we'll do about that apart from get heavy oil turned into it. So anyway, I'm having a look at the plastic and just like how it's flowing through the system, getting into the advanced circuit production, because the thing is, all that I've done here is add on one more assembler producing advanced circuits, and we already had about 8 or more, I think. I forget how many we have on the module production, but it's not that much, so I'm not sure why it suddenly caused a major problem for the plastic, unless it's just been a problem that's been slowly developing for a while now. Anyway, you just saw there I upgraded the what do you call it, the gear and circuit belts, I suppose, in the main production line to red belts, just to speed things up there. Anyway, you can see that the advanced circuits have now backed up on the blue science production, which means that we can make more use of them. So what I do is I add in another assembler, because at the moment the main science pack type that that hinders us when we're trying to expand science production is the blue. It takes the longest to fill up the buffers, and so I'm trying to help counterbalance that, or whatever, trying to fix it really. Anyway, going back down to oil, there really is a big problem here, because I can see that all 3 oil types are reducing at this point, and obviously that's going to lead to an oil shortage, so I need to sort that out. So you can see what I'm doing here is sidestepping a belt to give us a bit more room, and then inspecting the area, looking at the pipes and things, and how we can move those around to make space. And then I start crafting a new oil refinery, because obviously the only way to increase well, when all different fractions of oil are reducing, the only way to fix that is of course to increase the production of all 3. So that's putting in a refinery. Only thing is, I never expected to have to use a 3rd refinery. It's never something that I've got to on any other file that I've played, so I wasn't seeing it coming, and I didn't make the space. So I've had to sort of squeeze it in here, and then try and move things around. So I've had to sidestep that crude oil pipe there so that the petroleum gas can get out, and then I have to send this plastic belt underground so that I can actually get things hooked up. So you can see it's not too fiddly to get the heavy and light oil hooked up, but then petroleum gas is a bit more of a problem because there's a lot more things in the way. So I have to sort of hook it up to a random point and then zigzag, and zigzagging was literally the only way to get through there without hooking up to the wrong pipe. I had to zigzag through and connect it up that way, and so that we could actually get the new refinery operating. So now we have 3 oil refineries going, and I expect that will be more than enough to keep up our supplies of all 3 fractions of oil, and we may even start to have problems with it now by having all of the tanks fill up and having to build some new storage tanks or whatever, because it's been surprising that for so many episodes it stayed perfectly balanced so far. It's a bit weird actually. But anyway, what did there was stick some more of the productivity modules into more of the alien artifacts into the productivity module production, because I want to increase the science rate further, because at the moment it looks like we can do that. Anyway, wandering over to this new system that I've set up here, I've decided to increase its production rate. So it's a little bit fiddly because the plastic was sort of I didn't expect to be moving it around much. what I end up doing is actually getting a bunch of long-armed inserters and all sorts of weird stuff like this, and getting it so they get transported over to there. And it looks silly, and it is silly, but it works. So you know, I might as well. And now that we've got that going, I can take the weight off those other two older assemblers that had some speed modules in them that were sort of taxing them, I suppose. So I took those out, and we should still be going. I was about to say that does mean that plastic consumption is higher, but thinking about it, it doesn't. That would be productivity modules, I suppose. Though it is higher because we added in the new assembler, so maybe we'll have more problems with that. Anyway, I just happened to take a glance at copper and realise that we have an absolute terrible situation going on with it. It's just basically stopped. So I've run over to this outpost down here, and I'm trying to increase the rate that it's being loaded onto the train to try and deal with this, because I didn't realise, but this has actually been a problem for a very long time. It's sort of going back to the problem we had a while ago when we built this in the first place. We built this to take the weight off the old outpost, which was no longer capable of keeping everything supplied, but it turns out I didn't do enough. I just sort of staved off the inevitable, and the inevitable has now happened, where all copper chests across the map are sort of empty. Well, all the copper ore chests anyway. At the moment, the actual supply of copper plates is not that bad yet, but we have no buffers anymore, which means that what is flowing is what is there, and that's a big problem. So I'm hopping onto the trains and running around trying to fix this. So I've gone to the new outpost and added some more miners in, and I've gone to the old one to see how many we've lost, and at the moment I believe the count is 4 there or something like that. So then I'll just wait for the train, hop back on, have a check of the loading, and you can see that we don't even get half full before the train sets off again, showing that it's really getting bad here, and we now need to be turning the new outpost into a really major mining outpost like the old one used to be. So hopping out again, we need to do more work. Though the one problem is that the loading system is currently already running at full capacity, so we're going to have to do something about that. So I'm adding all these miners, but because it's running at full capacity already, those miners will not be contributing overall to things back home. So I add in even more miners because it's quite clear that we're going to need a huge operation going on here to deal with the massive losses that we've ended up gaining from my lack of attention to the system. So we get all of these hooked up, and we've added in a good dozen now, I think, new mining, well, yeah, maybe a dozen mining drills, I'm not sure, and that should hopefully cancel out the losses over in the old base. But anyway, of course, because the loading is already going at top speed, the only way that we're going to get the loading faster is if we double up the loading side. Well, we don't need to double it up necessarily, but doubling it up is the obvious thing to do. So I of course have to go onto the other side, get all the splitters hooked up there, get that connected. So now we should have just doubled the potential loading rate of that train, and that will hopefully be a great help just generally. So I'm just doing a little bit more fiddling, getting things to be running at the right speed. And once all that's done, and we get a little bit more science done as well, I think we've just finished all of the bullet damage and speed stuff now. We're on to rockets. So I hop back in the train, and you can see that this thing gets a lot more full now. It gets almost 3/4 full, which is pretty good. And then it gets home and gets unloaded. And now the trick to telling whether the system is filling up again is to see whether chests empty. So looking at this, you'll see that the outer chests start to empty on either side, but that is because the inserters unload those slower. The middle ones were still full, so that's alright. Anyway, we just had an attack up there on one of our radar stations before it went down, and then one of the other radar stations spots a group of biters milling around. So that's something we're going to have to deal with next episode. We don't have quite enough time this episode to run over and deal with that, so hopefully they don't cause too much more destruction while we're gone. And then hopping over to the oil system, I find that the crude oil supply has suddenly plummeted, and we're going to have to go and build a new outpost for that or something like that to deal with that. And then, just after I've noticed that, I suddenly realised that we've had a catastrophic power failure because of all of the new mining drills, which I haven't put it in effectivity modules into, and all of the new labs and all of the other stuff on top of that that I've done this episode. So anyway, I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.